Shannon Griffith joins us now as he does each week. Talk some football, and there is no way we can start this without talking Nick Saban, man. What a little bit of a shocker. It shouldn't be, but it was. I was like, whoa! It caught me off guard when I saw that.
Yeah, and the way that he kind of announced it, even amongst his players and staff. I mean, even his coaches didn't know until he informed the team in a team meeting that he was essentially retiring. So he threw some chaos into his staff right off the bat, because now these guys are potentially all looking for jobs, especially if they go to the outside to bring somebody in, potentially, just because most coaches want to bring their own people in. But
is there an outside when it comes to Alabama? I mean, it spreads so damn. His coaching tree alone is so vast. It's like he doesn't have a coaching tree; he has an orchard.
Yeah, he's there. They will not want for the interest of that job, both from people that have been there, played there, as well as those that have some type of connection to Saban. I have officially announced that I'm not in the running for the job.
Damn. That was my next question. It was coming.
But it does sound like they're moving relatively quickly. It sounds like the Lanning from Oregon may be the guy that's the top choice if you buy in.
Which surprised me a little bit. I thought that Sarkisian would have been that, not necessarily get the job, but I would have thought he would have been their top choice.
Well, yeah. And I think the one thing there is that now with NIL, he's probably in a more, I guess you call it, richer environment for the NIL thing than Alabama is. And then that's one thing that I think Saban battled, and probably why he retired, is that the landscape of college football has changed so much within the last 5 years. It's gotten to the point where I don't think philosophically, he just can't stomach it anymore in terms of what's going on and how that impacts him. And, what is he, 70 years old or something to that extent?
72.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get paid pretty good to go be a, talking head on.
He could do anything he wants for free for the rest of his life. He's made $1 gazillion, to quote Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
$1 gazillion.
He could have his shrimp boat.
I think that's the exact number that was on his Alabama contract. $1 gazillion. I think that's exactly what it said.
Well, there's no question that he has been a very successful college football coach.
He's been one of the most successful coaches in the history of sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
college football is not a sport that is dominated to that level. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Clemson. Yeah, they had a run, but they didn't win 6 national championships.
Right.
Michigan, they're doing good as well, but they won their first national championship outright since 1940?
Right.
So it ain't easy, peeps. It just ain't easy. Nobody else did. Georgia couldn't do it. Yeah,
well, if you look at Alabama before he went there, I mean, it was a little bit in chaos because they had gone through about 3 or 4 coaches trying to find the right match, and they found him because he was at LSU. Was he at LSU when he went to Alabama? I can't remember. I know there was a Miami Dolphins stop in there somewhere, but
that's right.
He did, he brought consistency to the program. And it just took off from there. I mean, they became the juggernaut of all of college football. They were going to get all the best players that, were at the top of the heap for the most part. And, just, there's not too much things to say about Coach Saban other than, well done, sir. You have proven yourself as a great leader.
No question about that. He won a state championship as a quarterback in high school.
Yeah.
With a team that had 33 guys on it, because that's all the amount of uniforms they could afford to have. So that's how many players they had.
Yeah, he was at his first job as at Toledo was my last year playing at Ball State, I believe. It was in between that and my GA-ship, but he was there at Toledo, and he just took off on the fast track to the big time from there.
You know what's something I saw that was ironic? He was at Michigan State for 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He lost 4, and he was at Alabama for 17. He lost 4 more games at Alabama over 17 seasons than he did at Michigan State over 4.
Just some of the dynamics in his career. You just kind of, like I said, it's tremendous job that he's done, and he's been a positive impact on the profession of college football and coaches. And he's made a lot of impacts, not only on players, but, you talked about Steve Sarkisian. He'll tell you he saved his life. He saved his career, he saved his life in a lot of ways. And because he had a belief in him, and he found him in a better, got him in a better point. So he's done a lot for a lot of different people, not just players, but coaches as well.
And this is one where I'm going to say Nick Saban is going to say have nothing to do with who the replacement is, because how's he going to? I don't think he would or could pick one. I mean, there's too many, and not necessarily all. I don't think Lanning doesn't even have a connection to Saban or Alabama, does he?
Well, his connection would be via Kirby Smart, and then I think Nick had initially tried to hire him at one point as well. I think they were aware of his talents, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, there's going to be a connection there just from an SEC standpoint, and him having coached in that division and league is probably going to give him as good of opportunity to take that job. It'll be an interesting dynamic because Oregon probably has about as much money as Alabama does. Phil Knight can throw some dollars into the coffer when he needs to keep him.
I would be shocked if Dan Lanning does not come out of this with a fat ass new raise.
Yeah, he's going to have a pocket full of money, I guess you could say.
Yeah, now Kalen DeBoer has his name's been mentioned, as it should be.
Well, sure.
All this dude does is win.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it. He did it at Washington. I don't know how much people know about this, but they were 4-8. Yeah. This team that he took to the national championship game was 4-8. Was it 3 seasons ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3. I believe so, yes.
So 4-8, people. Now, they did not have Michael Penix then. It was the year before Michael Penix arrived. So these last 2 seasons, it was the 3 seasons back. 4-8. So when you think about that, whether you think about rejuvenating Purdue and Indiana, 4-8 is what Washington was. But they hired the right damn guy, and guess what? He got stuff done. That's what he does. He wins.
Well,
Google him. You want to Google somebody? Google Kalen DeBoer.
Well, 2 things there. Washington is not necessarily the easiest place to recruit in the terms of the Pac-12 and kind of where they stand in that regard. Also, he did a great job with the portal, and he understands that through and through. But here's another guy that's gone through his profession in I guess I would call it the right way. He's earned all his opportunities because of what he did at Sioux Falls. Then he went to, Indiana as a coordinator, to Fresno State. And I mean, his progression to the top was done through means that not everybody takes. I mean, he's paid his dues, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that he maybe fits at Alabama, but
dude, see, that's where I disagree. I think Kalen
Mhm.
DeBoer fits anywhere, and it's because of his personality. And
Yeah.
this was something I was reading earlier, and it was just the coolest compliment. And I'll have to go back and try to find it, but it was from the Washington State coach who says,
Mhm.
you know, we all talk about living in the moment and this. He goes, but that's Kalen DeBoer. He goes, he's just a cool cat. It's just that's how he is.
Mhm.
And he talked about, he goes, their team was 4-8 3 seasons ago. He goes, he did that. He says, that's incredible. And so when you have another coach, a rival coach, talking about you like that, hey, man,
I don't think
I would
anybody.
love to see it but then he would be out of the Big Ten. So that I don't want to see.
Mhm.
I'd rather see him stay in the Big Ten. Looking forward to seeing him when he comes in to Bloomington next year. And there's no way you turn down Alabama if that offer
Oh,
was ever made. You do not turn that down.
no.
But also, you would be replacing the Giant.
Mhm.
That's a whole different. That's now we're talking a different scenario. Which, if there's anybody that could just step in and do that, is Kalen DeBoer,
Yeah.
because he's a cool cat. He does
Mhm.
not. That stuff reflects off of him, man.
Mhm.
And who doesn't want to go play for Kalen DeBoer?
There's no question he's even keeled. You never know. He's never too high. He's never too low. He's as steady as anybody you're going to see on the sideline and off the field. I think you know what you see is what you get with him. And but as a football coach, a guy that's won, you're right. He, in a terms of handling that, being walking into those shoes at Alabama, that I don't necessarily think they'd be overly too big for him, just because of, like you just discussed there, and his history in coaching. And you know, I don't think they can go wrong with that either. I mean, if that's who they so choose to have as their candidate. But both him and Lanning would both be tremendous assets in that regard. You may want to be the guy after the guy who replaced.
I always say that, man. You don't want to be the guy after. You want to be the guy after the guy, because that way the expectations are way down. Boy, anything you do looks good.
Yeah.
I always said that about Bob Knight. I go, man, you did not want to be the guy replacing the guy.